Robbie, hit me up with the foundation of your journey.
Okay, so my story is similar to Cyrus. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 12 years old, just about to turn 13. So I've been living with type 1 now for over 22 years. And my older brother also had type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed 9 years prior to me. So I basically self-diagnosed myself. I told my mom, I'm thirsty all the time. I'm going to the bathroom all the time. I think I have diabetes just like Steve. She said, no, don't be silly. You don't have diabetes. I said, okay, fine. I kept on living. Eventually, my parents, they were in Florida. We were home in Minnesota at the time. My mom called to check in on me, said, hey, how are things going? I said, look, I couldn't sleep last night. I was cramping. She said, okay, go upstairs, use your brother's blood glucose meter and test yourself. I tested. I was well above 400. You're not supposed to be above 140 really as a non-diabetic. My brother said right then and there, you have type 1 diabetes, pack your bags, you're going to be in the hospital for a few nights. So we go to the general doctor, they give me the official diagnosis, then I go to the hospital to get some insulin. And I remember my parents coming back the next day and saying, look, this is just an inconvenience. You can still live the life you want, all your dreams can come true. And that's really the way I was raised. It's just like, you know what, just take care of it, no big deal, do whatever you want. So my parents wanted to make sure we had the best medical care possible. And they took us to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I had a team of doctors, an endocrinologist, a nutritionist, a psychologist, and nobody there said anything about reversing insulin resistance or using diet to improve your blood glucose, like using a protocol that can help your health now and reduce the long-term complications. There was no talk of that. And we have to understand the number one cause of death for all forms of diabetes is heart disease. So we don't actually die of high blood glucose readings. We die of the complications. So I proceed to follow this guidance from the Mayo Clinic, and it's really standard education, just, pretty much low carbohydrate. But really their main focus at that time was, we just want you to be normal. Just be like your friends. Like, don't feel like this is going to, cause a hassle in your life, and just take insulin to eat whatever you want. That was basically their teaching. And, they said, oh, make sure to have a fruit at night. So my mom really followed the guidelines and said, hey, look, here's your can of mandarin oranges with high fructose corn syrup and all this added stuff. That is your fruit for the night. Anytime I had strawberries, I had to put powdered sugar on top. That was just the way I grew up.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it sounds really good. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we've all been there before.
We've all been there. No question. So I proceed to follow all this stuff, and I developed some standard American diet symptoms. I was a competitive tennis player. I was number one in the Midwest. So for 10s, 12s, and 14s.
Do you still play?
A little bit. Not as much as I should.
I'll challenge you to a match.
Okay, let's go. I can't wait. That'll be fun.
Yes, it will.
But then when I moved to Florida, I was only top 50. It's a whole nother ball game when you go to Florida.
That's horrible.
But what was frustrating is I had plantar fasciitis. So I had this painful condition in my feet. I had to wear these big blue boots at night, and that was no fun. So I also developed cystic acne, which was really frustrating as a teenager. Okay, I mean, it was bad. I had to do pills and creams. I'd go to the doctor. They'd do like laser treatments. Eventually, they put me on Accutane, which is the most serious drug you can possibly take for acne. My mom had to sign a waiver because some people had committed suicide on that drug. So it was kind of serious. Then I also had allergies. I would get sick year round. No matter what I was doing, I was still getting sick. So I took Claritin D, I took Nasonex. I wasn't the picture of health. And so in high school, I was at Barnes & Noble. Okay, I was looking for Spark Notes. People listening might know that's kind of like a short version of your stuff you're supposed to learn if you don't want to read the whole book. So I'm doing what a high school student does, all right? And there's a book that just like calls my name. It's called Kevin Trudeau's Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. Okay? Do you remember that book, Sean? This guy was on infomercials.
I don't remember that one, no.
No, okay. Some of your listeners will definitely remember, all right? This guy, he was infomercials. It was a purple book. He was selling millions of copies. I am not recommending this book, all right? This guy got put in jail. There was fraud involved. I'm not recommending it. It's just that the book planted a seed in my mind. It changed my life. And it gave me the idea that if I take care of myself from the inside out, maybe I can reverse type 1 diabetes. Maybe, this has never been done, Sean, just to be clear, like we still haven't solved this problem. We don't have a cure for type 1 diabetes. But I was on this mission now. You know what? Hey, look, if Roger Bannister was the first person to run a 4-minute mile, and then a bunch of people started to do that, you know what? Somebody's going to be the first person to figure this out. We're going to figure out type 1 diabetes. I believe it's going to happen in our lifetime. And we're going to regenerate beta cells. Because what's happening in type 1 is Cyrus's pancreas, my pancreas, we don't produce insulin. It's an autoimmune condition, and our pancreas has been damaged, and we're just not producing insulin. So what we need to happen is we need the antibodies to diminish, and then we need our own internal stem cells or external stem cells to produce new beta cells that can produce more insulin. That's what we need to happen. But anyways, the point is, I go down this path. I will do anything to make myself the healthiest person I can possibly be. And I'm like, I'm going to heal type 1 diabetes and nothing's going to stop me. So I try all these different things. I try a Weston A. Price Foundation diet where I'm eating grass-fed beef. I was having raw milk. And you can't sell raw milk to humans. So I would go to the store and I would buy raw milk that was supposed to be for cats, and then I would consume that raw milk. I mean, look, I'm doing crazy things, Sean. Crazy things.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I know. I'm sorry. I heard the word cat.
I know that a lot of listeners might want you to just continue, but I know there's also a lot of listeners that's like, wait a minute. So you go to the store literally to get milk for cats?
That's exactly right, Sean. That's exactly right.
Wait, did you find this in that purple book?
That one was not in the purple book.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's in the yellow book called Nourishing Traditions. That's where you'll learn that one. But again, not recommending that book either.
So how did cat milk taste? I just need to know this.
Okay, so at this point, these guys are teaching that their point is, hey, look, pasteurization is a problem, all right? It was a long time ago. We didn't have pasteurization. It was actually much healthier to consume it if it was like straight from the cow, like that type of energy. And so this milk, it was very thick, right? It was like full fat milk, essentially. And I would say it tasted just fine. Like if you like milk, you're probably going to like the milk for cats.
I don't like milk, so.
I don't like milk anymore either. If you want, there's a lot of fun alternative plant-based milks you can have these days if you're looking for that. Yeah, I'm doing crazy stuff. Next crazy thing is to do a plant-based ketogenic diet where all I eat is greens and nuts and seeds and oil and all. I couldn't have bell peppers because bell peppers were too high in carbohydrate energy. You couldn't have too many carrots. Like that's too much carbs if you want to stay really, really keto on this program. So I do that. And at this point, I'm a freshman at the University of Florida. I'm following this diet. I'm losing weight. I have no energy. My favorite thing to do is pick up basketball. I loved playing pickup basketball in college. I started being just having no energy. Like I had no incentive to play. Like I didn't even want to go because I was just terrible. And so I'm like, this is not good. Like this is going south. I got to do something different. I go back to a natural path that I'd seen in the past. And she's like, you know what? Maybe you need chelation therapy. I'm like, okay. I mean, look, you want maybe I can get rid of some heavy metals. Like, I don't know. Like I'll try it. But before I did that, I heard the same guru that taught Cyrus. I heard Doug Graham on a podcast, and it's fun to say that on a podcast. You know, maybe we can change a life here today as well. But that podcast changed my life. And this guy was saying, look, in that episode, he specifically said how eating fruits and vegetables in a certain way could actually help you detoxify and like get rid of heavy metals. I'm like, wait a minute. I'd much rather eat fruits and vegetables than go and do this chelation therapy and sit in a chair and spend all this money. Like I miss fruits. I haven't been able to have that on this plant-based keto diet. So I'm like, I'm going to give this guy a try. And I start learning from him. I buy his book. And Cyrus is one of the testimonials in the back of the book. Now this one I do recommend. This one's called the 80-10-10 diet. You could pick that up. But first pick up our book and then pick up this one, okay?
Yeah, we'll pick up your book first, for sure.
Okay, good. So I read this book. I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. And I start working with this guy, Doug. And it gets crazy, Sean. He's telling me to eat nothing but bananas for the first week. And I'm living with type 1 diabetes. I'm like, how's this going to turn out? And so this is right around Christmas. The book comes out December 2006. I remember going downstairs to Christmas dinner. I have a plate with a pyramid of bananas. Like literally, there's like 5 and then 4 and then 3 and then 2, like a pyramid of bananas peeled. And my family is just shaking their head being like, oh my goodness, like this is just another phase. This guy's he won't be doing this for much longer. But hey, we're 16 years later and I'm still eating pyramids of bananas, okay? This one worked, okay? And just like Cyrus, I start eating way more carbohydrate energy. And my insulin sensitivity goes through the roof. I saw a 900% change in my insulin sensitivity. I use a physiologically normal amount of insulin. approximately 30 units per day. I eat over 700 grams of total carbohydrate per day. My A1C is 5.3%. My time in range on my Dexcom G6 CGM is over 90%, whereas most type 1s are approximately 55%. So I'm showing that I have this personal experience, like, wow, like this works. And I get this insight of like, wow, if I know how to reverse insulin resistance in my own body, then just like we opened up this show saying how, diabetes can be reversible, that's what we're talking about. Pre-diabetes, type 2, when you reverse insulin resistance, you reverse those forms of diabetes, and that's over 90% of all people living with diabetes.